Hello, welcome to my channel. Today I would like to share with you a card that I made that is a Valentine card. However, it is not a traditional Valentine card. I am going to be using the Storybook Friends and the Storybook Friends designer paper and also some of their cutouts. I'm going to be using the new stamp positioner of my Sweet Petunia. Some of you may have seen it out on the market already. I first saw it on May Made It, and then it was all sold out, and so I put a notification on it so they'd notify me about it, because I really liked the way that you can maneuver it around. You can place it anywhere you want to. It comes with a base metallic paint. It doesn't come with it. You have to purchase this separately. But there's a magnetic plate and then the plastic positioner, and then you buy the magnets separately. However, they were out of the magnets, so I just went to Harbor Freight and got me some. But I'm going to be using this today so I can kind of explain how it works. I used to use this We Are Memory Makers stamp press, and you've probably all seen the bigger one of it, and it is a press at this way. Now, the new Stampin' Up! Stamp press is going to be marketed under this way of doing things. It won't be like this, but I have seen it, and it is impressive. So let me get started. I want to show you my card first. I find it a little interesting card because you open it up and it has a place for a gift card. It also has a place on the inside for your sentiment. So let me show you how we make that. It's going to use a 4 by 12 inch strip to make this part, and then the base is just your normal 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 with a designer series paper of 4 by 5 1/4. But let's get started. The first thing we want to do is to cut our designer series paper. Now we're going to cut this 4-inch strip off of the side, and then we're going to cut this portion right here for our designer series paper that will lay on top of our card base. So we're simply going to cut the longest strip first, which is that 4 by 12 inch strip. And then we're going to look at our sections, and we're going to cut the longest strip, which would be this one right here. The one we're going to be using is this one, and so I'm going to go ahead and cut it off as well. And that will be our designer series paper that we're going to use for our card. The 4 by 12 strip, and this is a 4 by 6, but we're only going to need 4 by 5 1/4. So we'll need to cut this 4 by 6 off to 5 1/4. Now I have cut my card base, which is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, and so my designer series paper will lay directly on top of my card base. But now let's get started with our 4 by 12 strip. Now we're going to score this, and we're only going to score it in one place. However, we're going to fold it in 3 different places. I still use my scoring board, and so I'm going to score this at 4 inches. Now you can just barely see that, but that is the line that we are going to fold next to. So let me explain let me show you what we're going to do there. I can just barely see this score line, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to make me a tick mark where that score line is. So I know where to fold it. And what I mean by that is we're going to take the right-hand side of our strip and we're going to fold it down, and we're going to match that tick mark. And we're going to make sure that we are in line with that score line, because we want to make a 4-inch diagonal fold. And I do it this way because it may be a little bit more difficult, but I can get that point right up to that score line. Then we're going to take and we're going to fold this around. And again, I'm going to turn it over. I'm going to fold it and align it with that score line, and I'm going to make that crease. So now we have everything is straight across. And that is what we're going to make our pocket here and our pocket there. Now to finish, we're going to fold the left side over to the right side, and we're going to align it. And we're going to make our creases there. It seems, now you can use your scoreboard. I'm just not proficient enough to get all my edges aligned perfectly unless I do it this way. Now we're going to open it up and we're going to glue along this edge here, which will keep it in line. Now, this is such a cute little image, but yet we're going to be covering that up, so don't worry about it if it looks a little funny at this point. We're just going to glue that closed. So we have a pocket, and we have a front cover. Now let's glue our designer series paper onto our card base. Making sure that we have the same border around all the edges. And here's how I like to do that. I hold my hand at the top, and then I can see 3 edges to align. So I make sure that those 3 edges are the same distance apart, and then the top will be the same distance apart. And we can glue our card now onto our card base. Now I'm doing it this way before we stamp, so that I can show you how this stamp positioner works. And because this is a 4-inch card, it's going to go exactly in the middle of our card base. And we're going to glue that down. Now we want to stamp our image. I found this old stamp set, which is called the Delightful Dozen, and it has Be My Valentine in this sentiment, and that's the one I chose to use. to the die set for Storybook Friends, I used this die cut, which was the oval, and I cut it out of basic beige. Now, you can't see it really well on camera, but as you cut it out, it also has an oval that cuts out, and you can use that as your sentiment blank. However, I wanted mine to be smaller than this. So I used my old punch, my old whale tail punch, and I punched out the sentiment out of this, but I wanted to stamp it first, so let's do that. Here's where the stamp positioner comes into play. Now, it's meant to lay on top of your paper, but my paper is too small. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to align it to the edge and to the edge of this stamp positioner. Now, this is really not how you're supposed to use it, but this is how I had to do it after I cut my die cut out. I aligned my Be My Valentine stamp on top of it, and I pressed it open. Now, if you'll see, this is the wrong side. I need to be on the red rubber side. This is made with a clear side and a red rubber side. So I need to get my paper on the red rubber side and again align it on my die cut. And I've stamped it with VersaFine Clear. Now, my paper is actually just laying on here, but this is designed so that you can pick this up and lay it on your paper. But I didn't need it that way, so I just did it this way and stamped my image. Using a Post-it note, I'm going to align that on my sentiment so that I can use my punch and I have something to hold on to. And so there is my sentiment. And now, if you'll notice, on my card, I have my frame, and my Be My Valentine sits in the center with a border around the sentiment. And I'm going to glue my frame onto the center of my card. And if you'll notice, there are two different edges to this frame. And I'm going to place this image to the left and this image to the right. And I'm going to place that exactly in the center of my card. Now I'm going to use some linen thread to wrap around the front of the card. So the bow, I will put a bow right here at this edge. So I'm going to wrap it 3 times. And that will leave me enough thread to make a bow with. Now it takes me a little bit to make a bow, and I'm sure you don't want me to sit here and watch make a bow. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to also tuck it under these 2 threads so that it will make it look like a V. I'm going to spread these edges out and cut my ends off. So now we have a bow on the edge of our frame. Now for the Be My Valentine, I'm going to pop it up on dimensionals. Now I use glazing tape as my dimensionals. My son owns a construction business where he remodels kitchens and stuff like that. And he's the one that gave me a roll of this tape, and I've been buying it from Amazon ever since because I just absolutely love it. It is pretty easy to take the backing off of it, and it is just the thickness that I like. So I'm going to put that right in the center now of my card. Now, I did this way because on the inside of the card, I want to show you how the stamp platform works for the inside. Now, for the inside, I want to go back to my designer series paper, and I want to cut a 3 1/4 by 3 1/4 inch square out of this image. Now, I've got my image cut out, but it is actually a 3 by 3 inch square. I've also cut 3 1/2 inch squares of basic beige. Now I'm going to glue those to the center. I'm going to slip it underneath this linen thread. I'm going to glue one 3 1/2 inch square to the left, and covering up this one, I'm going to glue this 3 1/2 inch square to the right side. With those two inside layers glued down, we're now going to add our image of our ducks. And we're going to add it to the left-hand side of our card. Now, using our stamp set, we're going to use the stamp called Hello Friend. And we're going to place it right here on our card on the inside. Now, you can move it up or you can move it down, but I liked it in that crook right there of the ducks, or geese's, no, that's a duck, by her neck. Again, we're going to use the stamp positioner, and I want to show you now why this was such a great stamp positioner. Or I like it anyway. There's hundreds, lots of them out there. But here I've got my card. It does have a bumped up image on the back. I'm going to lift up my positioner, and I'm going to put it down. I'm going to add my magnets to the side, and it holds my paper in place. I'm going to position my Hello Friend on the clear side, of which I'm not on the clear side. Now let's do that again. We're going to place it on my paper, add my magnets, and these magnets from Harbor Freight are absolutely tough magnets. I'm going to add my Hello Friend on the clear side, and now I'm going to stamp it. And I have a clear, crisp image. I always like to clean my stamps before they get dry. And now we're going to remove our card. We're still going to stamp, but now we're going to stamp an image that will go on the inside. Now, what I didn't do previously was to make a thumb hole. And so I'm simply going to make me a little thumb hole and just cut a little portion out of it. It's not hard and it doesn't have to be perfect. I have another 3 1/2 inch by 3 1/2 inch basic beige. Now I'm going to cut it point to point. And this will make the triangle that goes into that little pocket. and it will go into this little pocket. Now, I want to stamp "Somebody Loves You," "Some Bunny Loves You" on this little triangle. And so I'm going to pull back in my positioner, and I'm going to, on the clear side, I like to align it, and I'm not perfect at this yet, but I have enjoyed getting good images from my stamping. Okay, so I could layer it down this edge. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to lay it here, and I'm going to position my stamp on my paper in the area that I want it. And I'm going to stamp "Somebody Loves You." Now that will go in. Let it dry just a little bit. This will go into our little pocket. And it just slides right into the little pocket. Now, on my first example, I had a little squirrel right here. The little squirrel just dropped out of the pop-out page, but actually I think I should have used this little bunny, because on the inside it says "Somebody Loves You." And so I'm going to use this little bunny now. After I glue him down, that finishes the "Be My Valentine" card. Now, as you open it, "Hello, friend. Somebody loves you." And of course, you can write a little note here, and you still have plenty of room on the "Somebody Loves You" to write a little note there. But it also can hold a gift card or a coffee card or something that you would like to send them. And that is my card today. Be My Valentine.